The culture will change when you create an environment where people can approach you on the coachable moments that you're talking about. They will know when is the right time to come and ask the question, because now you have built that interaction with them, and it creates that culture that you and I as leaders are always looking for in our stores.
Welcome to the Strategy with Jason podcast. Tune in for everything you need to know regarding the automotive industry. Here's your host, Jason Harris.
Hey, what's going on, Podcast Nation? It is Jason Harris here, and thank you for joining me for another episode of the Golden Wrench Podcast, where I get to talk to, well, anybody and everybody I want to talk to when it comes to the fixed op side of the business. And I got a super cool guest with me. In fact, actually, I am really excited about getting into our topics, guys. I got a serious, real, honest to God operator on the call today. We're going to have a lot of fun. But hey, I can't record cool content like this without our sponsor. And here's a quick message from our sponsor.
For years, I've been saying that you have to process your way to profitability, and no one knows that better than the folks at Repair 360. You all know how important it is to have a fast, streamlined used car reconditioning process. Remember, time kills profit. Getting a used car frontline ready in less time while providing transparent communication between departments is what Repair 360 is all about. With Repair 360's automated used car recon manager, you will drive recon times down while giving sales the visibility they need to stop complaining. Oh, no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding about that part. Anyways, you have to check out their website at repair360.com and see how they can revolutionize your reconditioning process.
All right, guys. I told you I got a cool guy with me. I got the one, I've been told, the oh-so-famous Roger Gutierrez, Fixed Operations Director of Bigger Auto Group. Roger, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing well, Jason. Thanks for having me.
Was that okay intro? Did I hit it okay?
It's Biggers.
Biggers. Oh, my gosh. I screwed that up. Biggers Auto Group, my bad. Because everything's bigger right now.
Yeah.
Hey, man, how you doing?
I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well. Thank you.
Hey, I really appreciate you taking the time to come jam with me today. This is going to be a real fun conversation. We got some great topics we're going to get into. And look, anytime I get to talk about the fixed op side of the business is just a good day. It's just a good day. I love talking. Sure. You know, there's not enough conversations out there. The variable side of the business is like they get all the glory and they're so sexy and they get big budgets. And I'm like, you know what? Whatever, man. All right. This is the department that literally carries the whole company on their back. It deserves a lot more conversation. So, Roger,
I completely agree with you, Jason.
I really appreciate you having a conversation with me today. Here's what I'd like to do, Roger. I love kicking off these podcasts with a little origin story, right? Because I don't think anybody just wakes up one day and goes, hey, the automotive industry, that sounds like a place I'm going to go spend a career into, right? So let's start there, Roger. How did you get started in this crazy little world we call the automotive industry?
You know, Jason, it's a funny story because mine isn't the typical, how you got into the business. It was actually in high school.
Okay.
I went out with some friends to see a movie. I was a sophomore. We all had just gotten our licenses, and our friend picked up another friend, and she got a flat tire. And I was the only guy in the car, and she's like, "Well, go change out the flat tire." And I realized I didn't know how to do it, and I was embarrassed. One of the neighbors in the neighborhood we were in came out, and he helped us, swap out that tire. And the next day, I selected all my classes for the following semester. I added auto shop class across the board. And then I found out that I loved it, and then that was all she wrote. I started the auto classes and started getting my hands dirty, and, went to a private class where they sent me as like an internship to a dealership nearby. And there I was working as an apprentice under a journeyman, and he was literally, okay, take out these 4 bolts, then come and get me. Take out these 5 bolts and come and grab me. And it's been 26 years now since then.
Dude, that's crazy, isn't it? So let me get this straight. You got into the business to impress a girl.
Yes.
That's what I heard. So no, yep. I'm just messing. But no, dude, I'm with you because that kind of how I got started. I took shop. I took auto shop. And you know what's funny? Yeah, Roger, they don't do that anymore. Like it is really, really rare to find high schools anymore that have that as a curriculum, which I think is a bloody shame, that they don't do that, right? I mean, I don't know any. Do you know any?
Actually, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
luckily in the area I'm in, four out of the five high schools have built auto shops
Now
for
that's
auto shop classes that I'm heavily involved with. So, luckily I'm in an area where they do teach that.
that is awesome, because that is really, really cool. I wish it was more like that around the country, because that's how I kind of got. I mean, I was always kind of a gearhead. Like I just love cars, right? So when that class option came up, I was like, hell yeah, I'm taking this thing, right? And I remember it too because the car we were working on was an '83 Cutlass. That was like the shop car, right? It was an '83 Cutlass. I'm like, what a horrible looking car, just absolutely ugly. Anyways, I digress. But it was a lot of fun, and I got sucked in kind of the same way. Well, Roger, I want to get Kenny into our first topic, which is actually kind of funny because it's a perfect segue into what we were literally talking about. We wanted to talk about developing new technicians. Again, I think too often, I'm not going to say the variable side, but let's just say, upper management thinks that, just if we need another technician, we just go out and we just find another technician, like they're growing on trees, right? Like, yeah, Roger, go find a couple more for me, right? It's like, you find out that that's not true. It's just there's fewer and fewer people get into the business. What did you say?
That's the reality of it, Jason. That's the reality of it. And a lot of times too, these managers will also expect them that they have graduated from the vocational side of their schools and they're ready to go. They're 100% trained. They're 100% ready to, to book the 100 hours a week that we need them to.
Isn't that funny that seems to be a perception or assumption on this side, but yet on the sales side, that's not the case. Like they're like, oh no, we got to train these salespeople. We got to teach them how to do this. We got to coach them how to do this. And I'm like, okay, well, we got to do the same thing with our technicians. Who's training? Who's coaching? Who's developing these technicians into ultimately becoming into a bigger role, a master technician, a shop foreman? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, who does that? And I just kind of want to start. Here's what I want to start is for you, Roger. What was the aha moment? What was the moment? It was like, okay, dude, I can't just rely on throwing an ad out there for a new technician. I'm going to have to develop these people into the roles that I ultimately need them to. What was that moment like? What was that moment for you?
Well, the moment was when I realized that, putting an ad out just doesn't work.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work. You put an ad out and you're either going to get people who want to try being a mechanic and they were working for the post office or Amazon and they want to try being a mechanic because they changed their oil once in their friend's car in their garage, or you get people who are jumping from shop to shop for a many number of reasons, and in the time you're waiting for a technician to pop up in an ad, if you put a plan together, you could really develop a good thing.
No, you're absolutely right. Right. If I'm going to put, ultimately the best technicians I can put out there. Right. And look, like I said, I had a couple Mitsubishi dealerships and I was very fortunate to have, three, triple diamond master, which by the way, there was only like 20 something in the country. I had three of them, but like I was, but I'll tell you what, for me, Roger, for what my aha moment was, it was like, oh my gosh, I have this incredible level of higher knowledge and understanding about these vehicles. I can't let this go to waste. I need them to take that. I need them to spread it out and get them, you know what I mean? So I was like, so for me, it's interesting because for you, it was kind of like I put the ad out there. For me, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm incredibly lucky when I purchased these dealerships, these people came with them. Like I got to clone these people. I got to clone them. How am I going to do that? And I needed to create a program to develop out new people underneath them and for them to be able to pass that information on. Once you realized that an ad wasn't going to do it, what was the next step for you, man?
Jason, that same theory. I had to clone the good guys that we do have. Yeah. I have to create more advanced technicians, more master technicians, more people that'll be able to do what the main guys are doing. And that's something where I had to really come up with the game plan. And in fixed ops, we're big on processes, and I had to develop a process for that, because, you know, putting an ad out and interviewing people, it just wasn't succeeding. So we had to start different, you know, game planning a different route. And essentially it started with visiting the high schools, the vocational schools,
Mm.
the community colleges, you know, and just putting our feet to the ground and catching those people that went to school to learn this trade, that want to do it professionally, and
Yes.
get them early, you know, and get in front of them. You know, I wasn't sending our HR people or our recruiter, you know, and handing out pamphlets, because, you know, people see through that. It's like, oh, this guy didn't even want, he wants to hire us, but he didn't want to come out here and meet us, you know, because people understand when you're being genuine, you know, when you've done their job and when you can relate to what they're going through. You know, I graduated from Universal Technical Institute,
Mhm.
my vocational school. So, I mean, it's really easy for me when I go to these vocational schools and the community colleges, what these people have to go through in working full time and going to school full time, you know, and trying to learn at the same time, you
That's a
know?
lot.
Yeah,
Well, no, look, I think you're 100% right. I mean, I think for anybody out there watching and listening, right? Like, it just doesn't happen by accident, right? Like you can't create a program or start a strategy of developing individuals by accident. You need to be intentional. So, guys, so Roger, that's what you were doing, right? You were being intentional with your time. You know, some people may go, "Why are you going to the high schools? Why are you going to all these places? I need you here. You got to do this, but you got to what's that old thing? You gotta sow the seeds that you reap, or reap you know where I'm going with this, right? Like, but you do. You got to go out there. You got to shake the hands. You got to be intentional. You got to look these people in the eyes, and it's those relationships that start to develop. I'm sure that you probably got a handful of examples of this kind of developing out. Is there one? Is there one that kind of just at the top of your mind really kind of just stands out, and just kind of walk us through, like, from, you know, kind of the moment you met him and how you met him or her, and then just kind of, you know, how they kind of progressed with you over the years. Is
for
there
sure,
anybody?
Jason. The name that comes to mind is Kevin.
Okay.
You know, and I met him at the Elgin High School senior day, where everyone is just talking to different companies, getting a lay of the land, because these students are graduating high school and they're trying to game plan their next step,
Mhm.
right? And I met Kevin. You know, we were cleaning up. He had just gotten out of his third gym, and, you know, you remember in high school, you were doing 3 gyms. It means you messed up 2 other ones, you
Yeah,
know. So he was coming out of his gym clothes. He ran into the gym that we were all in, and he was trying to meet me because, you know, we were nearby this school, and we started talking, you know. And he's like, I want to be a mechanic. That's what I want to get into. I work on my dad's car. I have a Neon that I work on. You know, it's up. You know, I'm doing this to it. I took this out, and, you know, we started striking up a conversation, and we initiated that relationship.
that's
Well,
cool.
I handed him an application, you know, and then he, you know, about a week later, he shows up at my store, and I'm like, all right, awesome. Let's see where we can find a place for you. And he wasn't 18 yet. And
Oh,
for our dealership, you had to be over 18, right? He turned 18 in 3 months. So I told him, like, look, Kevin, when you turn 18, the day after, come and see me. I'll find a spot for you. Well, sure enough, that kid showed up the day after his 18th birthday,
that's
and
awesome.
he started working with me, and I put him in as a porter, right? Getting a lay of the land, you know, learning where everything goes, how the terminology, you know, how to rack up a car. And he would work, you know, as a porter. And I told him, you got to earn your keep in this place. This is where you're going to start,
That's
right? And
awesome.
so he really worked as a porter for 6 months. He was on time. He was great attendance, and he was always looking for something to do. You know, and Jason, you know as well as I do, you can't teach attitude. And
No,
this kid had the right one. So
that's awesome.
he's been working with us now for 3 years, and as of Monday, he just got promoted to be the apprentice at our store. So he's going to be one of 4 apprentices working under a journeyman now full time.
That is absolutely awesome. Hey, Kevin, if you're watching this, and I'm sure Roger's going to make sure you watch it, props to you, man. On the variable side, we would normally cut your tie. I don't know what we would do on the fixed up side, but I think we need something like that, don't we?
Absolutely, absolutely,
I
Jason.
don't know
Yeah,
why we don't have that.
we got to figure that out.
You know what, Roger? When we're done with this, me and you need to, like, think about that. We can come up with something, right? Because, you know, and Kevin, it's gonna be a blast, man. You're gonna have a ton of fun, and it sounds like you have a leader that's gonna be leading you and your team. It's gonna be absolutely great. So congratulations, Kevin. But no, that's perfect. See, that's what I'm talking about. That's like creating that relationship, getting them in, and I'm sure one of the things you probably did was mapping out kind of what is the path, right? Because I think too often we bring someone in and we're just like, all right, you're the porter. Okay, we go get the cars, get some parts. Maybe we screw with them, send them down to parts, get a flux capacitor, or tell them to go. You know what I'm talking about, right? Tell them to go fill up the headlight fluid on that car out there real quick for us. But those are great people to have, though. But if we take the time and not just mess with them, we should still mess with them. But to show them what is the path to becoming this, and then coming to this, and then getting to this, right? Like, I think that's key, is right from the beginning, is letting them know what is that path. Would you say the same?
You're completely right, Jason. It is important for them to know what a win looks like. So we have a set path on their training. Well, he's at our Chevy store. So we have a set path on, if you finish this training, your pay rate increases to here, right? And It's at his own speed. So he's going as fast as he wants to. If he wants to do one section a year, then that's on him. But this kid, Kevin, has been busting his butt to do the training. So now he's at a pay rate that he's comfortable with because he earned it, because he knew that what he would get, and in the time frame that he's done it, he's earned the respect of the other journeyman technicians. And now I get complaints on, hey, how come he gets to work with that guy and not with me? I got plenty of work I need help with. Because he has that right attitude, the right mindset. And, he becomes our dealership's billboard. Like he comes with me now to all these career fairs and senior days. He's talking to all the other technicians. Hey, this is how I started. This is what I've done, and I don't have to do anything. He speaks for himself.
Dude,
he just bought himself a new Colorado, and he's telling everybody, and it's a really good thing. It's satisfying when I'm able to clone that experience. Now I have, between our two stores that I'm overseeing, this program has worked 6 times now.
That is absolutely amazing. Now, as a technician, he go by a Colorado? Come on, he should know better. No, I'm just messing. You get the 5.3. You know better than this. Come on. Anyways, but no, look, I love this, right? Because you create an ambassador. You created someone that, is so now this time that you spend not only in creating this development program and putting them into technicians, but, also what you've done, and maybe knowingly or unknowingly, you created a culture that harvests or develops out ambassadors. And now you have people out there that are telling other people about the program and about the culture and the community that you've built there. And people want to be a part of it. Look, it's infectious. People like working at places that are fun and have opportunity. Like that is where people want to be. Me and you were talking a little bit before we started this, and I'm the first one to admit, dude, I sucked. Like I absolutely sucked when I became a manager, right? Like I told you the story of what the service advisor, one Christmas, they crocheted me a pillow that said "shut the up and get back to work." And she thought it was cute. Everyone thought it was funny because that's what I said so often, right? So this is a perfect segue kind of into my next topic, because I want to talk a little bit about just, we talked a little bit about developing technicians, but when we're developing out like service advisors going into becoming a managers, and managers getting into becoming fixed ops directors, like, there's no one taught me how to be a leader. Hence the reason why, a couple of years in the business, I had one of my advisors crochet me this pillow because I walked around just telling everyone to get back to work. I would love to kind of pick your brain on, what are a couple things that we can do intentionally, all right, to help our advisors when they become managers learn how to be leaders, or better managers, and how our managers become fixed ops directors and learn how to be leaders. What are some of the things that we should be doing out there to kind of help with that progression?
When I really started trying to learn to be a leader, I kind of developed these 3 philosophies, right? It's a simple philosophy that I follow, and I teach every leader I try to develop, whether it be an advisor or a service manager or a service director, is one, let everyone know what the goal is, right? What a win is. And it's different for a technician, it's different for a loop tech, it's different for an advisor, it's different for a service manager. And then the time frame you wanted to win, whether it be daily, weekly, monthly, yearly.
Yeah.
That's step one of the philosophy. The second part of this is have the processes in place for your teams to get to those goals.
Well said.
When you have it established, now it's easy to break down and hold everyone accountable on what steps we missed or what steps we need to improve on.
Mm-hmm.
And that being said, the third part of this process is what are the consequences or the results of not meeting those goals? And just because I use the word consequences doesn't mean it's a bad thing or a bad word. All I'm saying is if you don't reach the goal, right, what's going to be the game plan? Whether it be more one-on-one training, more online classes, more, just repetition as far as your delivery and your overcoming objections, going over the decline work. And it's just following that 3-step philosophy as a new leader really will set a good baseline on everything going forward, I feel.
Oh, dude, I am so with you. Especially that last one. I'm with you on the first two 100%, but I think you really see a true leader in kind of the third one that you mentioned, right? And for me, that was the toughest one. That was allowing people to fail, right? Allowing them to fail in a safe place, right? And okay, and I know people might be watching, listening, they're going, what are you and Roger talking about right now? But no, guys, just hear me out for a second, right? I when I first started as a leader, I made this mistake of, really owning everybody else's mistakes, and like wanting to, like, once I saw something not being done correctly, I'm just like, just get out of my way, let me do it, me. Like, get the hell out of my way, right? Get the hell out of my way, let me fix it, right? And I did that. Boy, man, did that cause just an obscene amount of stress and just time on me and stuff like that. And I actually had a mentor, and Roger saying something very similar to what you just said, Roger, was kind of come to me, and they're like, no, Jay, like, if you're gonna be a real leader, man, you need to create a place where you actually have to let them fail. All right, because it's through that failure, all right, and their ability and comfort knowing that they can try things and fail and you not freak out, all right, is going to allow them to do things that you never even thought that could be done, all right, accomplish things faster than in a way that you never thought about doing it, right? Like, that gives them the autonomy, all right, to develop themselves, and like, that is a sign of a truly good leader, where they create a culture, a place where it's safe to fail. I'm curious, Roger, how'd you do that? I guess that'd be my question.
I can tell you, Jason, by failing at it, because what was happening is I was acting exactly what you said, right? Why would you tell a customer this? Why would you do this without talking to me? I created an environment where people didn't want to come to me for advice, for leadership. I created an environment where people were like, oh man, don't tell Roger, he's going to be upset. So now I didn't hear about any of this stuff until after the fact, till the customer came back or the technician broke something, we were ordering stuff. So I that's where I learned that, because now I realized, man, they're not coming to me because they're worried I'm going to yell at them. They're worried I'm going to say this or say that. I have to create an environment where they can come to me and realize if they come to me and we talk about it before it gets worse, it's always better than after the fact.
Well, and it's creating that safe place to do that. And so, Roger, like I said, I'm the first one to admit that my emotional EQ or EQ was not overly high. I didn't give a. I mean, I was suck it up, buttercup, check it out the door. Don't bring that shit into my shop. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
rub some dirt in it.
Yeah. Throw some dirt in it. You'll be fine, right? And because I guess that's just how I saw other people run the department. I just assumed that was kind of the way you did it, and it was going again. I had a mentor. Shout out to my great mentor. He knows who he is. We talk still regularly, even though he's way retired. But it was an eye-opening. It was an eye-opening moment for me when I realized that when I took a moment to kind of understand and put myself into their shoes, in their situation, and looked at why they made the choice they made. All right, instead of me just flipping out on them in a heartbeat, right? That's when, just what you said, Roger, I gave me that opportunity to create this, like, well, how could we do that different? I think there's a moment, right? And if you go too far over, then you lose it. If you do it too early, then you're micromanaging. There's just this moment where it's just like, okay, now I'm going to step in. I'm going to ask a few questions. I'm going to understand a little bit more, and then I'm going to kind of show the direction. And that's where I find that to be like the path. Is that same for you? Did you find the same thing?
That hits the nail directly on the head because you have to understand the situation before you can coach anybody.
Right?
And that's something it took me a while to learn because I would react emotionally, right? And then it'd be like, oh, all right, that makes more sense now that I asked some questions after I've reacted. So you hit the nail right on the head because it is something you got to understand before you can help coach. Absolutely.
Now, I'm curious if you saw the same thing as when I started to deploy this. It didn't take a whole lot of time for the fundamental, I guess, aura or vibe or culture
Culture is the word. Yeah,
start to really shift at the dealership. Did you see the same?
absolutely, Jason. I mean, the culture will change when you create an environment where people can approach you on the coachable moments that you're talking about. They will know when is the right time to come and ask the question because now you have built that interaction with them, and it creates that culture that you and I as leaders are always looking for in our stores.
I like what you just said. Coachable moments. That's what it is. I was trying to think what's the word, right? What's that moment? I was thinking, because if you do it too early, I think it's micromanaging. If you do it too late, then you lost the learning, and now you're just now you're just telling someone they screwed up, right? And I think you're 100% right, Roger. I think what really makes the difference between our fixed ops leaders in our space is that they have this ability or a radar for coachable moments. And in those coachable moments, just a lot can happen inside your business. Do you have I'm sure you have some examples, but is there one that maybe sticks out for you that when this happened?
I mean, I can tell you a very recent one. This morning, I'm at one of my stores and I have a new advisor who came to me and said, Roger, we have a customer that needs a $6,000 repair.
Oof.
And they're just out of warranty by a couple thousand miles.
Oof.
Is there anything we can do? Right. So before he went to the customer and dropped this bomb,
Yes,
that it's going to be $6,000 right after your warranty expires, I'm thankful he came to me because General Motors has a process for this where we can offer the customer goodwill, right? When it's this kind of situation. And he would have never known that if he'd not come to me and I coached him through it. So we went through the goodwill, right? We went through the process. He got all the numbers straightened out. Now he went to the customer and said, Mr. Customer, normally this repair would be $6,000, but because of a policy I took care of for you, it's only going to cost you a deductible of $500 towards the repair, right?
Yes.
Now, I mean, I couldn't have asked for a better scenario because now this advisor looks like a complete hero to this customer that we are going to have forever because this is what he's going to remember and this is what he's going to tell his family and friends about.
Well, you're right. I'm 100% with you. The customer is, yes, talk about an experience, right? But I'm also thinking for that advisor, how empowering, how motivational, all right, it is where it's like, I can throw my cape on, wind's flying in, it's flying in the back, and I'm like, I'm going to save your day, and it's like in that coachable moment, you were able to bestow that power that allowed that advisor to just, literally go save someone. I can't imagine the emotional roller coaster that they would have had if we had just communicated to him like, bro, it's going to be 6 G's.
Yeah, we would have lost the customer. They would have traded it in and, we wouldn't have gotten the repair. And, the customer would have been like, man, that place is expensive. It's a $6,000 repair.
You would have traded it in. You I think you're giving the variable side a little too much credit. Just messing with you. Because that way we would at least still got the work. It just would have been different, though, right? You're assuming. No, anyways. All right. Variable people, back off. Stop dropping. Okay. I like where we're going with this, and I think this is a perfect segue kind of into our last topic today, because it's communication, right? And communication to customers is so key, right? And you had this beautiful coachable moment this morning where you were able to coach what needed to be communicated to that customer, so they fundamentally understood what was going on, what had happened, and what will go on in the future too, right? As well, because that's not something that happens all the time. It's not like you're going to get that next time. You know what I mean? So that's cool. But I think communication is key. We were talking a little bit before we started recording today because it's just everyone's talking about it. We got to talk about tariffs, right? And look, I understand that it's a political thing right now, and I don't give a crap what your opinions are now and what side of the aisle you currently sit on and how you feel about this. The bottom line, it just is what it is. It's what's happening. Now, things is we don't necessarily know everything, and things are actually changing on a pretty rapidly basis. What we know about it yesterday may not even be what we know about it today. All right. But yes, there is a possibility that that $6,000 job that you just mentioned could be $8,000 here in a few months if things happen the way they could potentially happen. But, we don't know. And I think, our customers have questions. And I think the way that we communicate what we know right now is incredibly important. And I'm just curious how you guys have approached this and how you're currently handling it at your stores.
Well, currently we're trying to get ahead of it. We're posting social media videos from the fixed ops manager, myself, and the service manager at our other store, and we're talking about it, right? And we're advising customers that we're consumers too outside of our jobs, and we understand the situation, and we're just trying to avoid the stigmatization that word tariff is coming with right now. So we're getting ahead of it. We're training our advisors and our appointment coordinators right now to ask if the customers have an extended warranty. Using that extended warranty as a buffer for any cost differentials that might come to play with any tariffs that come up, because the extended warranty will be what absorbs the costs, going forward.
Dude, that's freaking genius. Wait, so for anybody out there watching and listening right now, I love what you just said right there. I'd be all over selling as many service contracts as I possibly could right now, because here's the thing: we know they're going to use it anyways. See, this is actually what I love about service contracts. Out of all of the kind of additional things as an industry we sell, this is the one thing I love about us. It's not like you're not going to service your car. Do you know what I mean? It's going to happen. Right, you're going to do it, and combining those, different types of service contracts out there, will allow you to lock in, some of these prices and, possibly even labor rates, as well, right? Like, I mean, advisors or managers, if you're listening, you're like, dude, if I was an advisor right now, I'd be having a conversation with every single person that is coming through the door and just be like, look, you just need to think about this, because it's not like you're not going to spend the money. You're going to, but if we lock it in now, look, it's a win-win. It's a win-win no matter what, right?
For everybody. Yeah, absolutely.
So who's communicating this? I'm just curious. Is it the advisors that are communicating?
It's a two-pronged process right now. Our service BDC reps are asking every customer if they have a service contract when they make the appointment, right? Check engine lights and just noises and windows and everything that's coming up right now. And then if there's a customer saying, no, I don't think I have one, and then we ask if they would like somebody to call them about that, to get them some information on one. And it's really spiked our service contract sales at our store. Then when they come in, our service advisors are asking for copies of the contracts, and then that's creating more awareness of it also. And it's just been a good process so far.
I love it. I am so in love with this process. I know I'm geeky. I get excited. We're both like this, right? Ooh, clean. Ooh, that's a sexy pro.
Yeah, I'm looking for somebody to high five, and there's nobody there. I'm like, all right, cool.
No, right? Like, but no, guys, if you're out there watching and listening to this is awesome. This is what real operators do. All right, look, everything about this is customer centric. Everything about this is supporting the dealership and the team. This is incredibly smart. I think anybody out there watching and listening needs to deploy this. Look, Roger, I know we're getting towards the tail end of our time, which I think is a shame, because I feel like I can jam with you like easily another 30, 40 minutes. But man, we've covered some cool stuff today. We talked about, developing new technicians. We talk about, advisors becoming managers becoming into directors, and just the difference in the leadership and what it takes to be a leader, and just, like intentionality is everything, right? Intentionality is key in developing new technicians. It's key in becoming a leader. Intentionality is key in what you're doing right now with the tariffs and the service contracts. Like, that just doesn't happen on its own. Look, Roger, everything you said is a good idea. Everything you said today is a good idea, but none of it's possible unless you're intentional with your time and actually just get it done. All right. Roger, before I let you go, for anybody out there watching, listening, that may be thinking about getting into the business and being a part of the fixed op side, all right, what advice would you share with them before I let you go today?
Get your foot in the door. Go visit a dealer, go visit a store, go in and ask for the service manager and pick their brains, and just get a feel for it. And then, it's the best advice I can give you, because it's hard to explain in a conversation what fixed ops is like without actually being part of it.
It's, when it's done right, it is a very fun community. It's got great income opportunities. And great direction for continued growth. So I'm with you, man. I am so 100% with you. Rogers, this has been a lot of fun. For everybody out there watching, listening, who would love to connect with you and maybe even continue some parts of this conversation, what's the best way to do so?
You can reach out to me by my cell phone number. I can give you that 847-322-1609. Feel free to shoot me a text or a call, or, you can email me at roger.ins.service@gmail.com. And you could reach out to me that way also.
Dude, you're the best. Like, you rock. You're like, yeah, man, just shoot me a text. Let's go. Let's have the conversation. Hey, man, this has been a really, really fun conversation. I can't tell you how much I appreciate your time today. This has been, like, seriously, probably one. I do a lot of podcasts on this day particularly. I do like 6 or 7 of them in a row, and this hands down has been like my funnest podcast today. So thank you for that. For everybody out there watching and listening, one of the biggest compliments you can give myself or Roger is to share the show. It means so much to us when you share the show. It's great for the algorithms. It's just great for us to continue to do cool content like this. If you got a friend or a colleague or a manager that needs to hear some part of today's conversation, share the show. It means absolutely a ton to us. Roger, thank you so much for your time, everybody out there. We appreciate you. You all have yourselves an amazing day.
Thanks for having me, Jason.
Thanks for tuning in to the Strategy with Jason podcast with your host, Jason Harris. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe.